told you it was love. They convinced you it was normal. They made you believe the problem was you. But somewhere beneath the confusion, the self-doubt, the endless explanations that never quite made sense, you knew something was wrong. This is where we stop pretending. This is where we examine what they never wanted you to see. The patterns that controlled you, the systems that protected them.
Now, finding a doctor is a little less challenging. United Health Group is investing in tools that make it easier for patients to navigate healthcare and pay less. These transparency tools help patients find providers, and this is the big thing: compare costs up front. The big picture? More transparent pricing benefits everyone. And these tools from United Health Group can help patients save hundreds of dollars annually. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
We need to keep kids safe online, but some special interests are sending policymakers in the wrong direction, pushing the so-called App Store Accountability Act, demanding government ID from all users just to download an app, replacing parents' judgment with government mandates. It doesn't even stand up in court. A better bipartisan bill, the Parents Over Platforms Act, would put parents in the driver's seat, empowering parents and businesses to keep kids safe without drowning all of us in red tape. Tell Congress to get it done right and put parents over platforms.
Paid for by ACT, the App Association.
At Nature's Bounty, the belief is simple. You already have a brilliant body. Supplements just help support your journey. For over 50 years, Nature's Bounty has offered vitamins and supplements to help you eat, sleep, thrive, repeat. From magnesium glycinate for heart and muscle support to hair growth capsules for fuller, thicker hair. And probiotics with 20 billion live cultures for digestion. Nature's Bounty. It's in your nature to thrive. Learn more at naturesbounty.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
If you've seen men around you suddenly start questioning the patriarchal systems they've benefited from, you might have noticed how complex and uncomfortable that awakening can be. Maybe it's a father who's starting to realize how differently he treated his sons versus his daughters. Maybe it's a partner who's beginning to see patterns in how he responds to your emotions or dismisses your concerns. Maybe it's a brother or male friend who's having uncomfortable realizations about privilege and power. And maybe you've watched this process with a mixture of hope and frustration, wondering why something that seems so obvious to you feels so earth-shattering to them. Welcome back to the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'm Lynn, your host. Today we're talking about what happens when men begin to wake up to patriarchy, why the process of deconstructing these systems can be so difficult for them, and how that cognitive dissonance affects everyone around them. Let's start with why this awakening is so jarring for many men. If you've grown up in a system that consistently rewards certain behaviors and attitudes, dominance, control, emotional suppression, the assumption that your perspective is the default. Questioning that system isn't just about changing some behaviors. It's about dismantling the foundation of your identity. For men who've been conditioned to see themselves as rational, logical, and naturally suited for leadership, discovering that many of their advantages came from systemic inequality rather than inherent superiority is devastating. It means acknowledging that the confidence they felt in their abilities might have been artificially inflated. It means recognizing that opportunities they thought they earned might have been handed to them at someone else's expense. The cognitive dissonance becomes unbearable because it challenges everything at once: their sense of self, their understanding of their relationships, their place in their family and community, their beliefs about fairness and merit. When everything you've been taught about how the world works suddenly seems questionable, the psychological pressure to reject that new information becomes overwhelming. In family systems, you might see this play out as fathers who become defensive when confronted with how they've treated their children differently based on gender. Instead of sitting with the discomfort of recognizing harm they've caused, they might double down on justifying their actions. They might insist that boys and girls are naturally different and need different treatment. They might get angry at whoever is pointing out the pattern, making them the problem instead of examining their own behavior. The same dynamic shows up in partnerships. A husband who's beginning to see how he's dismissed his wife's concerns or made unilateral decisions might feel such intense shame and discomfort that he either shuts down completely or becomes hostile toward the conversation. The alternative, actually acknowledging the harm and working to change, feels too threatening to his sense of himself as a good person. What makes this particularly complex is that patriarchal conditioning doesn't just teach men to dominate others. It also teaches them that their worth depends on being dominant. Their identity becomes tied to being the provider, the protector, the decision maker, the one whose judgment matters most. Questioning those roles doesn't just mean changing behavior. It means grieving an entire sense of self. The social pressure compounds this internal struggle. Men who start questioning patriarchal norms often face rejection from other men who see their awakening as betrayal. They might lose respect in their professional circles. They might get pushback from family members who benefited from traditional arrangements. The cost of consciousness can feel too high to pay. You might have watched this process with someone close to you and felt frustrated by how slowly it moves or how often it stalls. You might wonder why someone can't just accept new information and adjust their behavior accordingly. But for many men, accepting that new information means accepting that they've been wrong about fundamental things for most of their lives. The shame spiral that comes with that realization can be paralyzing. It's not just I made a mistake, it's I am a mistake. It's not just I hurt someone I care about. It's I am someone who hurts people. The difference between those two framings is enormous in terms of how manageable the emotional experience becomes. Some men get stuck in the guilt and shame and never move past it. They become paralyzed by the weight of their realization and retreat into depression or defensiveness. Others swing too far in the opposite direction, becoming performatively enlightened in ways that center their own journey rather than the people they've harmed. Both responses avoid the actual work of sustained behavior change. The men who do manage to navigate this process successfully often do so because they've found ways to separate their identity from their past actions. They can acknowledge harm without defining themselves entirely by that harm. They can feel appropriate guilt without drowning in shame. They can sit with the discomfort of unlearning without needing to defend their old ways of thinking. But here's what's important for you to understand as someone who might be watching this process unfold around you. Their difficulty with awakening doesn't excuse continued harmful behavior. Their cognitive dissonance doesn't justify resistance to change. Their discomfort with new information doesn't mean you should stop providing it or lower your expectations for how you deserve to be treated. The process of deconstructing patriarchal conditioning is genuinely difficult work. It requires questioning everything they've been taught about strength, success, relationships, and identity. It means acknowledging complicity in systems that have harmed people they care about. It means letting go of advantages they've taken for granted. But that difficulty is their work to navigate. Your job isn't to manage their emotional experience of awakening or to minimize your own needs to make their process more comfortable. Your job isn't to be patient with harm while they figure out how to stop causing it. Understanding why this process is challenging for men can help you have more realistic expectations and clearer boundaries. You can have compassion for their struggle while still insisting on respectful treatment. You can recognize that their defensiveness comes from deep conditioning while refusing to accept it as an excuse for continued controlling behavior. When you notice men around you grappling with these issues, what patterns of resistance or breakthrough do you see? And what does that suggest about how power and control operate in your own relationships? Pay attention to whether their awakening is leading to actual behavior change or just more sophisticated justifications for the status quo. This is Lynn, and this has been another episode of the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'll see you in the next one. Visit our website at movingforwardafterabuse.com for articles, resources, and more support on your recovery journey.
Boost Mobile is now sending experts nationwide to deliver and set up customers' new phones.
Wait, we're going on tour?
We're delivering and setting up customers' phones. It's not a tour.
Not with that attitude.
Introducing Store to Door. Switch and get a new device with expert setup and delivery.
Delivery available for select devices purchased at boostmobile.com.
Here's how to stay alive longer so you can enjoy Boost Mobile's unlimited plan with a price that never goes up. Do not mistake a wasp nest for a piñata. Stay alive and switch now at Boost Mobile. After 30 gigs, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Mobile Unlimited plan.
We need to keep kids safe online, but some special interests are sending policymakers in the wrong direction, pushing the so-called App Store Accountability Act, demanding government ID from all users just to download an app, replacing parents' judgment with government mandates. It doesn't even stand up in court. A better bipartisan bill, the Parents Over Platforms Act, would put parents in the driver's seat, empowering parents and businesses to keep kids safe without drowning all of us in red tape. Tell Congress to get it done right and put parents over platforms.
Paid for by ACT, the App Association.
This work is hard, really hard. Questioning everything you were taught, seeing systems that were invisible, sitting with truths that change how you see the world. It's exhausting and overwhelming sometimes. There's no timeline for this, no right way to process it. We've gone daily now because these conversations matter. Subscribe so new episodes land automatically when they drop.